Hey guys, it's me, Amanda Fabella, Queer Psychic Queen. I just wanted to pop on and talk about Mercury retrograde for a few minutes because it just started today. So it's from today, March 5th through March 28th. The shadow period for Mercury retrograde is usually about 2 to 3 weeks before and 2 to 3 weeks after. We usually have about 3 to 4 Mercury retrogrades per year. So 3 to 4 Mercury retrogrades, they're about 3 weeks each, and then around 2 to 3 weeks before and after, they also, it's like feeling the effects of it when Mercury is in the shadow of its retrograde. So this is actually like a big part of the year. If you calculate it, it could literally end up being something like 4 months of the year. So it's like a third of our lives that we're in Mercury retrograde. Now, when Mercury goes retrograde, I think that, I don't know if it's like I think it's just like a buzzword that a lot of people are familiar with as far as astrology. So people know their like sun zodiac sign, and they'll like also be aware of, Mercury retrograde because of its reputation. So I don't know if like astrologers and people that read tarot just like to capitalize on it. But I mean, if it's a third of our lives, it's really not that bad. It's really more of a time to slow down in your life, and it's really more of a time to recommit to the things that are important to you. So if you're one of those people that's always doing a literal, it's like hair right here, it has a mind of its own. If you're one of those people who's basically Mercury retrograde is like we're always running from one thing to the next thing, like whether we'll be at work or working on our business and we're trying to get this amount of stuff done in this amount of time, so we're moving quickly from one thing to the next. Or because we are so programmed in that way, when we're doing things at home, we're rushing to rest or different things like that. Mercury retrograde, hey Lori, how are you? Mercury retrograde is an invitation to stop rushing from one thing to the next, because when things go wrong, it's typically when we're rushing. So if things go wrong when we're rushing, Mercury retrograde is just like a time to show us where in our lives we need to recommit, mostly to ourselves, but then also to our main priorities in life. So it's really a time of reflecting. And if we want to get really like philosophical with it, I mean, life is about reflecting. Life is about slowing down. Life is about recommitting to what's important to you. So Mercury retrograde is really not, it's not bad. Mercury is the planet that owns communication. So during Mercury retrograde, there can be some shadowy feelings, some fogginess around communication. However, that is an invitation for us to get clear in how we want to express ourselves, become clear in what we want to say, and really step into our voice. So I would never view Mercury retrograde as bad. And in fact, I've noticed with like my friends and just people in the internet world, and in general, like you can't put your life on hold for Mercury retrograde. So if you're like looking for a job or looking for a home or an apartment, if you're trying to get somewhere, so like make a certain amount of money, work with a certain someone, I wouldn't say to put your life on hold. So I feel like a lot of people put their lives on hold during Mercury retrograde, but it really always will come back to how things feel within you. So Mercury retrograde is not a great time to enter into huge new things like partnerships, contracts, jobs, but life must go on. And it's really all about how it feels within you. And Mercury being in retrograde kind of puts it to be like, how much do you want this? Still go for what you want. Don't put your life on hold. So this Mercury retrograde is in Pisces season. Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac. So this Mercury retrograde also, typically retrogrades are a time of clearing out. sometimes what's being cleared out and why is not clear until after the retrograde, but retrogrades are typically a time of clearing out. So because Pisces is the last season of the zodiac and we're having a Mercury retrograde almost all of this month, it's really a really good time to, like, I don't want to say it in a way like you have to do a lot of work, to let go of something, to let go of what I'm getting is like patterns of thought that are not working for you. So it always seems like every full moon, all the time, we're always like letting go. It's always a period of letting go. But this is really a time for you to let go of the ways in which you, I don't know another way to say it, like the ways in which that you torture yourself. It's really a time to move away from those obsessive thoughts, move into a more peaceful state. So it's really, really not bad. Things I would suggest for moving away from like an obsessive state, because like I said, Mercury in retrograde is a time to slow down. So ways that you can move from an obsessive state are, one, I would suggest adopting some sort of self-healing practice. So if you don't do any self-healing, at least I would say meditate. Meditation is healing. Meditation is like healing at a cellular level. Meditation has probably been studied as a self-healing technique more than, I would say, any other energy healing techniques there are currently. So start with meditation. Then I would start with like noticing your thoughts and correcting your thoughts. These are like characteristics of ways to, heal yourself using CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. Those are great. But when you have deep trauma or you have deep, intense emotions, CBT, noticing your thoughts and then, thinking of a better thought, reaching for a better thought, that's good. But that usually doesn't work that well for deep-seated trauma. So as far as like clearing it and healing it fully, like I think it could potentially cause relief in the moment, but sometimes it does trigger it further. So what I would suggest besides self-healing during this Mercury retrograde is also to do some healing work on the trauma you have, as far as going to the core of when the emotions started. So when you feel an intense emotion, like definitely try to remember back in your life, the most deepest, the most prominent time you felt that emotion. And try to, like a big theme of this Mercury retrograde I was just going to start getting into is like reparenting yourself. So reparenting yourself is a way to heal the inner child. And it's basically like a very, very deep way to heal your thoughts and your subconscious, because when you feel triggered, so there's some situations in my life for sure. I'm sure everybody has, if you don't have things like this, then you are enlightened. But I'm sure there's some situations in your life where even sometimes just thinking about that can really like get you going. So in that moment, if you can, if you're not like real busy and a lot of commotion, if you can, try to go back to yourself as a child and try to comfort yourself from that aspect instead of comforting yourself from now. And how that works is comforting the inner child within you in that moment heals yourself at a much deeper level than comforting the surface emotion that's really triggering this deeper emotion. Because the deeper emotion is really like when we're doing like personal development healing work, we don't want to heal our goals are not to like heal random bad feelings. They're to heal ourselves and give ourselves freedom and happiness. So this is a perfect time to either do the self-healing method that you already know, adopt a self-healing method like Reiki, or even just like body scanning and like clearing your energy. Message me if you want to know more about that. Reparenting yourself as far as helping to correct your thoughts, not like your thoughts are wrong, like correct the intense emotion that comes with your thoughts that's causing you pain. by reparenting yourself. Reparenting yourself is something that I'm going to talk about in a bunch of posts this month and really get into, because it's really something that the way that we were raised will really always affect us until we heal it. And it's not like, I feel like when we think about healing things from our childhood or really deep things, really hurtful things, we imagine it all healing at one time in this crazy tornado that's impossible to deal with and so overwhelming, because even just peeking at the pain is painful. So if just peeking at the pain is hard, how would embodying it, stepping into it, how would moving through it, how would that work? It doesn't. So healing is always incremental. It's always a little bit by a little bit, and then one day you look back and you haven't thought about that and reacted in 6 months. So that's why it starts with these little moments that you decide to reparent yourself, to go back to your inner child, to give yourself the love that you didn't have, to comfort yourself. And I feel like the world and like where we're at right now on a soul level, you are ready for this. Like maybe a few years ago, if you heard the suggestion to like try to reparent yourself and comfort your inner child, you might be resistant. You might think, I mean, you might think, I barely even know myself. I don't know if that would help me. There's just so many other things than that. I can't do that a million times a day. You can't do that a million times a day, but you can torture yourself a million times a day. And I definitely guarantee you that it takes less effort to reparent yourself. So keep in mind, don't be hard on yourself, and keep in mind that it happens a little bit by a little bit. This Mercury retrograde is a good time for big healing and transformation, because we've been doing so much work on ourselves in the past few years. It's coming out. It's like being physical now, and it's overwhelming because it's new, but it's what we've been asking for and it's what we've been wanting. So I'm here for it. I'm going to pull some cards for this Mercury retrograde. I'm just going to pull 3 cards. 1 card, what to focus on, 1 card, what to let go of, and 1 card, just like a little message for our love life in Mercury retrograde. So this card will be what to focus on during this Mercury retrograde for the collective. So what to focus on this Mercury retrograde for the collective. Okay. It's interesting. So I pulled 2 cards, and one of the cards that I pulled is the crumbling. So that totally goes along with what I was just saying now, how it's like really time to like heal from the foundation, like bring down the negativity in your life and step into the positivity and like the transformation and literally all the work you've been doing, like the hard work on making yourself better. Step into that. Let the negativity crumble. I know that holding on to old thought patterns, old situations, even with like anxiety and feeling stress, it can become a habit. Let that crumble, even though it's scary, even though you haven't experienced it yet, even though it might feel boring. Let it crumble from the foundation. And then I also pulled answer the call. And so this, like when I pulled this card, I like got a super strong message that like your angels and your guides are going to be helping you in this. So like I was saying in the beginning, it's Pisces season, the last month of the zodiac. And so it's like a closing out to a new beginning. And this is a month for you to clear a lot, but also receive so many messages on what to do next. So when I talk about all the clearing that needs to be done, this month it'll be easier. This month, your angels and your guides are literally assisting you in this work because they know you're ready and you know you're ready. It's like a perfect union of like your guides have always probably thought that you were ready for like to step into the best version of you. But now that you are like seeing glimpses of the light, seeing glimpses of the you that you want to be actually like in this life, seeing different times in the day that you feel aligned, good, it's just going to be easier this month. So don't even stress about Mercury retrograde in the way that things could go wrong. Don't think that way. I'm going to pull a card now for what should we let go of? What can we let go of? What would be, I'm trying to think of a good way to phrase it. I don't like the word should. What should we focus, what can we focus on letting go of in this Mercury retrograde? Okay. Interesting. So as far as what should we focus on letting go of, I got a really similar message to answer the call. I pulled the entrepreneur card and the life purpose card. So in the context of what should we let go of, this goes along really well with what I was saying, because it's basically like saying you let go of all the things that you thought, the ways you thought it should be, and all of like the ideas that you've been having, and like that situation in your life that's either like coming up or impending and you don't know what to do about it. Like, give it up, surrender, like the answers are on the way. It's coming together behind the scenes because you've done so much work within yourself. And then I'm going to pull a card for love. So what is the theme for our love and romantic life for this Mercury retrograde? I have a romance deck, so I'm pulling it from the romance oracle card deck. What is the theme for our love and romantic life during this Mercury retrograde in March 2019? Okay. Interesting. Not all these cards are good. In the deck, not all the cards are good. I do romantic readings for myself all the time, and not all the cards in the romantic deck are good, but these are all good cards. I just wanted to mention that just so that you didn't think that they were all like these fluffy words, but this reading is really good. So I pulled the true love card and the this could be the one card. And I think that this goes along really well with what I was talking about in the beginning, because I was talking about how Mercury retrograde is a time to recommit to the things in your life that are important to you, not just romantically, but within yourself, your priorities, work, life, spirituality, things like that. Recommitting to the things that are important to you, letting go of the things that aren't serving you and are not as important to your life and not helping you. Pulling the true love, and this could be the one card in this context, I would say is a super good sign, because it's a sign that when you sift through everything and find what's important to you, you will feel love. Like, this is a month for you to recommit to the love in your life for yourself, for others. And while Mercury retrograde, sometimes I feel like when people talk about it, people say like, it's generally known for foggy communication. That doesn't mean like foggy in every way in your life. You could be really clear with your messages that you're receiving. I mean, it's not like you can't have an amazing conversation during Mercury retrograde. It's not like you could have an amazingly, enlightening conversation with your partner where you really get to the bottom of things. Because there's so much energy around doing what's best for you and doing what's important for you. I think this month there's going to be a lot of conversations in romantic situations about priorities and expectations, is what I'm hearing. Expectations for what you have for the other person and what they might be doing or not doing for you. This is good. Hearing a blessing in disguise. This is good. So when you're communicating with someone, definitely be open to what they have to say. Hold your boundaries firm. That's something that's so important right now. You must honor your boundaries, because during these times of retrograde is when the universe, if you're not honoring your boundaries, makes you. And you don't want to have to. You just, it's easier this way. So I would honor your boundaries, but have open and honest communication this month. And like I said, even though Mercury in retrograde can be a time of communication that's not as clear, it's only an invitation to get clear on your message, simplify what you have to say, and let the other person really hear you. So I hope that you enjoyed this video. Mercury retrograde is going to be fantastical. The energy of this Mercury retrograde actually feels really positive. It doesn't feel like I'm going into this, you know, black hole or this period of time where everything's on hold or anything like that. Like, you'll be okay. Like I talked about in the beginning, the things I would suggest are adopting or continuing your self-healing practice, even meditation, and doing some inner child work as far as reparenting yourself and getting to the bottom of your traumas rather than trying to put a band-aid on it as far as just feeling better in this moment. I mean, feeling good is the most important thing, but I'm just inviting you to work on healing those intense reactions and traumas. I'll be going live more about this month, and if you have any questions, let me know. And love you guys. Thank you very much. Thanks, Steph, for watching.